Hey, how's it going guys? Captain Kuba here. Do you guys remember when I said this in my last video? Now, most likely this will be my last video on the CG trailer as well as the collector's edition reveal. After this is back to my normal weekly videos. Well, it turns out that I was wrong. I still have one more topic to talk about from the CG trailer. And it's honestly the most obvious one. The one that has everyone freaking out. The reveal of Fenrir himself. This was by far the most important news story confirmation for God of War Ragnarok, because as I'm sure you know, Fenrir is one of the most important characters from Norse mythology. Everybody knows of the iconic story of him eating Tyr's hand, but more interesting to me, he's the one destined to kill the All-Father during the Battle of Ragnarok. So it was no surprise that he would be featured as a character in God of War Ragnarok, arguably the most anticipated Norse mythology game of all time. Yet, his appearance in this trailer makes absolutely no sense. Because we know Fenrir is the son of Loki, and it's pretty much confirmed that this Loki has not given birth to a giant wolf. Yet, Mimir talks about Fenrir as if he's been alive for a very long time.
You're familiar with the tale of Skoll and Hoti, bringers of day and night?
Oh yeah, the wolf giants.
Aye. They were born of the arch-wolf Hrothwitnir, a great nemesis of the Aesir gods.
But still, this doesn't answer the question of how can Fenrir exist in this timeline without Atreus giving birth to him. In my reaction video, for some reason I quickly went over this mystery by saying that either Odin brought Fenrir to this timeline or Fenrir himself found a way to get here. But these answers are very vague, they're not really juicy theories to keep you guys hyped about the game. So for the past few days I've been thinking a lot about this mystery, and I'm here to tell you that I think I have a really good theory. A theory that not only explains how Fenrir is in the current timeline, but it also explains what exactly happened in the first timeline. Now, I know time travel is a very complicated topic, so let me explain it as best as I can. When people think of timelines, they picture something like what they saw in the Loki show. Different realities branching off from the original timeline. Well, in the Norse world in God of War, it's kinda like that. The only difference is that there's only one branch, at least for the time being. It's also very possible that it's a never-ending loop, but now we're getting too much into the bootstraps paradox to make any sense out of it. The important thing you need to know is that this timeline branching off, or the restart of the loop, happened in Ragnarok when Thor hit Jormungandr so hard that it splintered the world tree, sending him back in time, and thus creating a timeline where Jormungandr exists before his own birth. This battle between Thor and Jormungandr is the only confirmed event from the first timeline. However, I think if we look closely at the game and novel, we can get more information about what happened in the first timeline, or at least what happened right at the end of it. And I would like to begin this theory/discussion with the most important character in the series, Kratos. I think there's strong evidence that Kratos was absent from the first timeline. At the end of God of War 2018, Mimir says that according to prophecy, Ragnarok wasn't supposed to happen for 100 more years. And he implies that this change is due to Kratos' presence in the current timeline.
Ragnarok. From snow.
Aye, snow. Lots more snow. And then the end of the bloody world, in that approximate order.
Another prophecy.
No, brother. Prophecy doesn't expect this for 100 more winters at least. You've changed something. Prophecy didn't count on you.
So, if Kratos was absent from the first timeline, how exactly did that story unfold? Well, without further ado, let me tell you what I think happened in the first timeline. Since Kratos was absent from this timeline, I believe Faye's story unraveled very differently. As the last guardian in Midgard and wielder of the Leviathan axe, she eventually led all the giants to war against the Aesir gods in the Battle of Ragnarok. Every important player from the giant side was there. Surtur, Hel, Jormungandr, Fenrir, and the pups Skoll and Hoti, which, even though they were babies at the time, I still imagine them to be really tall. Anyway, something must have gone wrong in this battle, and Faye and the giants began to lose against the Aesir gods. I suspect Surtur and a large group of giants were killed, and Jormungandr of course was sent back in time. Faye, seeing that the giants were about to lose the Battle of Ragnarok, consulted with the other authoritative giant figures and came up with an unbelievable plan. She would put all of her hopes of defeating the Aesir gods not on her nor the giants, but the prophesied Loki. But because it was too late for success in her current timeline, she had to go somewhere else. Well, more like somewhen else. So Faye traveled back in time with Fenrir as well as Skull and Hati with the goal of telling her past self that Loki, her future son, is the key to winning the war against the Aesir gods. Now, once future Faye explained all of this to past Faye, she took another trip to meet with the other half that would bring Loki into the world. And I believe this trip is recorded in a dream Kratos has in the novelization of the game. This is what the novel says. Kratos held a defensive stance, his back against a rock wall, his blades out to defend him from a trio of yowling wolves twice his height, one black with verdant eyes, one white, and the third grey. The black beast seemed to be the alpha, assuming the most forward position. A beardless god of war, clad in the clothes of his life in Greece, slashed his blades of chaos to keep the predators at bay, but his actions failed to discourage their assault. Kratos realized he needed to bring down at least one of the wolves if he hoped to survive their onslaught. The white wolf advanced as if on command. The movement revealed a woman behind the beast, clad in a long cloak and cowl obscuring much of her face. Her raised arms sent all three creatures airborne to attack. "Who are you?" Kratos screamed with all the force he could muster, just as the black wolf ripped into his thigh to drag him away. Now, later in the novel we learn that two of the wolves are indeed Skull and Hati, which makes the third wolf Fenrir. And Fenrir didn't just drag Kratos for a couple of miles. Fenrir was responsible for dragging Kratos to the Norse lands itself, setting him on a path that would lead him to meet Faye and eventually give birth to Loki, the savior of the giants.
This is our story.
No. This is your story.
After past Faye was informed by her future self and Kratos was on a track to meet past Faye, I believe future Faye simply disappeared, leaving Fenrir as well as Skull and Hati in the past. Sometime after, Odin captured Fenrir and with a magic spell commanded Skull and Hati to chase the sun and the moon. Then the events of God of War 2018 as well as Fimbulwinter happened, and the rest we'll have to see once we play Ragnarok.
When you are at your weakest.
And fear and doubt are a burden too heavy to bear.
Remember this. You are not alone.
But if there's one thing I'm sure of, is that Kratos and Fenrir will be reunited since they last saw each other hundreds of years ago, making this reveal even more important than we initially thought. Now, if you're a big fan of Norse mythology or God of War 2018's lore, you probably notice a huge hole in my theory. We know for a fact that Loki and Angrboda give birth to Hel, Jormungandr and Fenrir. But if Kratos was absent from the first timeline, that means Atreus was never born, which means Angrboda never gave birth to Hel, Jormungandr and Fenrir. So how exactly can the three monster siblings exist in the first timeline? Well, we know that Angrboda and Loki are their parents, but what if I tell you that the name Loki might not be a name, but a term like the Marked Warrior, and maybe there was another person who was the first Loki? Ooh, what? Where am I going with this theory, you ask? Well, this video is getting too long and complicated as it is, so I'll leave this part of the theory for the next video. So if you wish to find out how the story of the first timeline, Fenrir and Loki ends, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon to get notified of my next upload. Can't wait to share this theory with you guys. Now, if you're a regular of the channel and would like to support the content, remember that I have a merch store with really cool art made by some awesome God of War fans such as yourselves. Look, all I'm saying is, if you want to support the channel aside from liking and sharing, you can buy some merch or become a member of the channel. With that said, I once again want to thank all of my members for supporting the channel monthly. People like Daniel Hammerton, Dave Motor, Link Smith, Shiv Kaushal, and Shigetsu, to name a few, are truly my biggest help. I really am living in the best timeline, because these people give some of their hard-earned money just to support me and my content. I really couldn't have gotten this far without your support. So, once again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I would also like to thank everyone who likes and shares my videos. I know it doesn't seem like much, but guys, keep doing that. It really does help me get in the algorithm. So, with that said, thanks for watching, and remember, go forth in the name of Ragnarok.